At his investor appreciation party, my son did something I will never forget. He picked up his mother's music box and threw it straight into an ice bucket in front of hundreds of people. That sentimental junk doesn't belong here. My 7-year-old granddaughter stood frozen watching her grandmother's final gift treated like trash. I didn't argue. I didn't get angry. I simply bent down and picked the music box up. 3 days later, when the watchmaker opened it, his face went pale. And in that moment I knew my son had just signed the death sentence for his own empire. If you're still here, thank you for staying with me. Before we continue, I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your location in the comments and say hello. Your support truly means a lot. Also, please note, this story includes some fictionalized elements for storytelling and learning purposes. Any resemblance to real people or places is coincidental, but the reflection it offers may still be meaningful. That sentimental junk doesn't belong here. My son's voice cut through the champagne-soaked laughter of 100 investors. I stood in the middle of his penthouse, all glass and steel and money, holding a music box wrapped in paper that suddenly felt as worthless as Marcus clearly thought it was. I'm Robert Sullivan, 68 years old, retired engineer widower, and at that moment, standing in my son's world of venture capital and 7-figure deals, I'd never felt more out of place. Marcus's Investor Appreciation Gala filled his south-of-market penthouse with Silicon Valley's finest. Men in $1,000 suits, women in designer dresses. I wore my good navy jacket, the one Helen bought me for our 40th anniversary. It felt threadbare here. Dad. Marcus spotted me immediately. His smile didn't reach his eyes. What's that? Your mother's music box. For Emma. His jaw tightened. This really isn't the time. Grandpa. Emma's voice cut through the tension. My 7-year-old granddaughter, all dark curls, and Helen's green eyes ran across the hardwood floor. Is that Grandma's music box? I knelt down eye level with her. Your grandmother wanted you to have this, sweetheart. Can I open it, please? Vanessa appeared before I could answer. My daughter-in-law. 38, old money-polished smile. Emma, darling, that's a very old toy. You have much nicer things. But Grandma said, your grandmother isn't here anymore. Vanessa's eyes met mine. Cold. Robert, this is a business event. Perhaps another time. Marcus moved closer. I smelled whiskey on his breath. Dad, this isn't appropriate. Your mother wanted, Mom's gone. His voice had an edge now, sharp enough that nearby conversations paused. It's time to stop living in the past. Emma tugged his sleeve. But Daddy, Grandma said it plays Claire de Lune. Marcus glanced at his watching guests. Something hardened in his face. He grabbed the music box from my hands. Sweet Marcus. This sentimental junk doesn't belong here. He walked to the bar and without hesitation dropped it straight into a bucket of melting ice and champagne bottles. The splash was small. The silence that followed was enormous. Emma made a sound like a wounded animal. Daddy, that's Grandma's. You'll get over it. Marcus turned back to his guests, CEO smile in place. Sorry about the interruption, folks. Nervous laughter rippled through the room. I didn't shout. Anger expressed loudly is anger wasted. Instead, I walked to the bar, reached into the ice water cold enough to make my arthritis scream, and pulled out the music box. Water dripped onto my sleeve. I wiped it carefully with my handkerchief, the way Helen would have wanted. Then I looked at my son, 42 years old. I'd taught him to ride a bike, paid for his education. Somewhere along the way, I'd lost him. Your mother left Emma more than you know, son, I said quietly. You just threw away your daughter's inheritance. His eyes narrowed. What are you talking about? I didn't answer. I turned to Emma crying into Vanessa's dress. "Don't worry, sweetheart. Grandpa's keeping the music box safe, just like Grandma wanted." I walked out. The drive home through San Francisco's fog took 20 minutes, but felt like hours. The music box sat on the passenger seat, still damp with champagne and shame. My Richmond district apartment couldn't have been more different from Marcus's penthouse. No city views, no designer furniture, just 2 bedrooms and a kitchen that hadn't been updated since the 90s. But it had been ours. I carried the box inside past photographs I couldn't take down. Helen at our wedding. Helen holding baby Marcus. Helen and Emma that last summer before she got sick. I set it on our old kitchen table, the one we'd bought at a yard sale 40 years ago. Made tea. Earl Grey the way Helen taught me. As the water boiled, a memory hit me sharp and sudden. 2 years ago. Helen in the hospice bed we'd set up in our living room, her voice paper thin. "Robert, I want Emma to have this music box. Promise me you'll keep it safe. Marcus will want to give it to her." No. Her eyes were still sharp despite everything. "You give it to her. If Marcus truly changes, he'll respect that. If he doesn't, you'll know what to do. This box holds more than music, my love. It holds our values. Emma will need them." She passed away 3 days later. 7:42 in the morning, with me holding her hand and Claire de Lune playing softly. The kettle whistled. I made my tea but couldn't drink it. My hands were shaking. I opened the music box. When the first notes of Claire de Lune filled my kitchen, I finally let myself cry. Real tears, the kind that come from somewhere deep. My son had thrown his mother's love in the trash. In front of his daughter, in front of strangers. I wiped my eyes. The music wound down slowly. That's when I noticed it. The box felt heavier than I remembered. Not by much, but I'd held this box dozens of times over the years. The wood seemed thicker at the base, the proportions slightly off. Helen had been a seamstress, not an engineer. She wouldn't have noticed something like that. But she'd known craftsmen who could work with their hands, who understood the difference between what something appeared to be and what it actually was. My late wife had spent her final year planning something. Between doctor's appointments and treatments, she'd been meticulous. Her will, her wishes, her provisions for Emma. I turned the box over in my hands, examining it carefully. "Helen," I whispered to the empty kitchen, to the photographs on the wall, to the memory of her. "What secrets did you hide inside?" The music box gave no answer. Just sat there heavier than it should be, holding mysteries I couldn't yet name. But I would find out. Tomorrow I'd take it to someone who understood these things. Someone who could tell me if my suspicions were right. And if they were, if Helen had left something inside this box besides music and memory, then Marcus had made a mistake tonight. A very expensive mistake. Sunday morning fog wrapped North Beach in gray silence as I walked up the steep hill to Tommy Morrison's shop. The sign above the door, Morrison's Timepieces and Antiques, had faded to ghost letters, but I could have found this place blindfolded. Tommy and I had been friends for 30 years, ever since we'd met at an estate sale hunting for different treasures. The bell jangled as I entered. Tommy looked up from his workbench, magnifying glasses perched on his forehead. He was 72, with hands steadier than mine had ever been, and a memory for mechanical movements that bordered on supernatural. "Robert." He set down his tools. "You look like you've seen a ghost." I placed Helen's music box on his workbench between a Victorian clock and a collection of tiny screwdrivers. "Marcus threw this in the trash last night, at his investor party. Emma watched him do it." Tommy's jaw tightened. He'd met Marcus twice and had told me both times that my son had the soul of a collections agency. coming from Tommy, who loved everyone that was harsh. He pulled down his magnifying glasses and switched on his LED work light. "Let me take a look." For several minutes, Tommy examined the box in silence, turning it over, running his fingers along the edges, occasionally making small, thoughtful sounds. Finally, he reached for his precision tools. "This is Swiss," he said quietly. 1958, maybe 60. The movement is Patek Philippe, you can tell by the balance wheel design. These were handmade, each one unique. This thing is worth at least $5,000 just for the mechanism. $5,000. Marcus had thrown $5,000 into the trash like garbage. "But that's not what matters," Tommy continued, studying the base. "This base plate is too thick. Standard music boxes have a 1 millimeter base. This one is 3 millimeters. That's not an accident." He inserted a thin tool into what looked like a decorative groove. There was a soft click, and the base swung open like a trap door, revealing a hidden compartment lined with dark velvet. My heart stopped. Inside were 4 thick documents in clear plastic sleeves. Tommy carefully removed the first one and held it under the light. "Stock certificates," he breathed. "Original founding shares." I leaned closer, hands shaking. The certificate had ornate borders and raised seals, but it was the words that made my blood run cold. Apex Capital Inc. Certificate of Common Stock, 15% equity share. The date was March 15, 2008. Helen's signature was at the bottom. Each certificate represented $50,000. 4 certificates. $200,000 total. Helen invested in Marcus's company. Tommy's voice was barely audible. "Did you know?" I shook my head, unable to speak. Helen had never mentioned this. Not once in the 6 years before she'd passed away. Tommy was already on his phone, typing rapidly. "Apex Capital, Tech Ventures." He went quiet, his eyes scanning. Then his face went white. "Robert, sit down." "What?" "Apex Capital was acquired by Tech Venture Group in 2016. His fingers flew across his calculator. "The sale price was $180 million. 15% of that is—" He stopped, double-checked his math. $27 million. The room tilted. I grabbed the workbench. "How much?" $27 million. Tommy looked up at me with something between horror and amazement. Helen invested her own money into Marcus's dream, and he just threw away the proof of Emma's inheritance. There was more in the compartment. Tommy pulled out a folded piece of yellowed paper. Helen's handwriting covered one side. "My dearest Emma, these shares are registered in trust for Emma Sullivan. They belong to you, sweetheart, not to your father. I invested in his company when he needed help most, using money I'd saved from 40 years of nursing. I didn't tell him because I wanted him to succeed on his own merit. If Marcus treasures this box, it means he's learned the value of family. If he's thrown it away well, then he values money more than memory, and you'll need this inheritance to build a life he can't control. All my love, Grandma Helen." I read it 3 times, each word cutting deeper. Helen had known what Marcus was becoming. She'd protected Emma even from beyond the grave, and she'd done it without saying a word to me. "Your wife," Tommy said softly, "was brilliant. Marcus has no idea." My voice sounded hollow. "He threw away $27 million because he was embarrassed. He threw away his daughter's entire future because the box wasn't expensive enough for his penthouse." Tommy carefully placed everything back into the hidden compartment and closed it. The music box looked innocent again, just a beautiful antique with a secret that could destroy an empire. "What are you going to do?" he asked. I picked up the box, feeling the weight of Helen's love and planning in my hands. Marcus had made his choice when he'd thrown this into the trash. He'd chosen his image over his daughter, his greed over his mother's memory. "I'm going to protect Emma," I said. "I'm going to make sure she gets what Helen wanted her to have, and I'm going to make sure Marcus understands exactly what he threw away." Tommy nodded slowly. "You'll need a lawyer. A good one." "I know." I tucked the music box under my arm and headed for the door. The fog outside had lifted slightly, letting pale sunlight break through. Truth breaking through lies. "Robert," Tommy called after me. "Men like Marcus don't give up $27 million without a fight." "I'm counting on it," I said, and stepped out into the uncertain morning, carrying Helen's final gift and her final warning. Monday morning arrived with the kind of clarity that makes you wish you could stay in bed. The fog had burned off overnight, leaving San Francisco sharp-edged and unforgiving under a blue sky that felt too cheerful for what I was about to do. I stood outside Patricia Williams's office building in the financial district, clutching the music box like it might disappear if I loosened my grip. The elevator ride to the 14th floor gave me too much time to think. What if Patricia couldn't help? What if the stock certificates weren't valid? What if Marcus had already found some legal loophole to steal Emma's inheritance? The glass doors to Williams and Associates opened into a reception area that smelled like leather and expensive coffee. The receptionist directed me to Patricia's corner office where floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of the Bay Bridge that probably cost more in rent than I'd made in 5 years. Patricia Williams stood as I entered. She was in her early 50s with silver-streaked hair pulled back in a no-nonsense bun and eyes that looked like they'd seen every dirty trick in the book. Tommy had recommended her 3 years ago when Helen's health had started declining. "Best elder law attorney in the city," he'd said. "Smart, tough, and she actually gives a damn." "Robert." She shook my hand with a grip that could crack walnuts. "Tommy called yesterday and gave me the basics. Let's see what we're dealing with." I set the music box on her mahogany desk. She opened it carefully, listened to the first few notes of Clair de Lune, then triggered the hidden compartment with practiced ease. Tommy must have told her how it worked. Patricia spread the 4 stock certificates across her desk, like playing cards, then pulled a legal pad toward her and started writing notes in rapid shorthand. For 10 minutes, the only sounds were her pen scratching and the distant hum of traffic 14 floors below. Finally, she looked up. "This is worse than I thought. And better. I'm not sure I like either of those options. The certificates are legitimate. Helen purchased 15% of Apex Capital in March of 2008, registered as in trust for Emma Sullivan. That means Emma is the legal beneficiary, not Marcus." She tapped one certificate with her pen. According to public records, Apex Capital was acquired by Tech Venture Group in October of 2016 for $180 million. Marcus signed the acquisition papers as majority shareholder and CEO. So Emma should have received $27 million. Yes. Patricia's expression hardened. But according to the acquisition filing I pulled this morning, Marcus declared himself as owner of 100% of Apex's equity. He never disclosed Helen's 15% stake. That's not an oversight, Robert. That's embezzlement. He stole $27 million from his own daughter. The words hung in the air like smoke. Embezzlement. Stolen. My son was a thief. Can we prove it? My voice sounded hollow. These certificates are proof. They're dated, signed, and witnessed. Plus, Helen's will. She pulled a file from her desk drawer. I handled Helen's estate planning. Let me check something. She flipped through pages, her finger tracing lines of legal text. Then she stopped, and a slow smile crossed her face. It wasn't a pleasant smile. Section 7, paragraph 3. The character clause. Helen wrote, If any heir demonstrates serious disrespect for family legacy or the memory of the deceased, the executor, that's you, Robert, may contest their inheritance rights and seek reallocation to protect minor beneficiaries. The music box, I breathed. He threw it away in front of 100 witnesses. Exactly. Helen was brilliant. She knew Marcus might turn out like this, so she built in a legal tripwire. You have grounds to challenge Marcus's actions, protect Emma's inheritance, and potentially recover the $27 million with interest and penalties. Patricia leaned back in her chair. This is a winnable case. Difficult, expensive, and messy, but winnable. For the first time in 2 days, I felt something like hope stirring in my chest. What do we do next? Patricia's expression shifted from satisfaction to concern. We need to be very, very careful. I did some additional research after Tommy's call. Marcus's company, his new venture after the Apex sale, is in serious trouble. He owes creditors approximately $15 million. There are rumors of a securities investigation by the SEC. His business model looks suspiciously like a pyramid scheme dressed up in tech industry buzzwords. He's broke. Worse, he's desperate, and desperate men don't think clearly. She pulled out another document. If Marcus discovers these certificates exist before we have everything in place, he'll fight back with everything he has. Men in his position often try to discredit opponents, tie up assets in litigation, or... She hesitated. Or what? They go after competency. If Marcus can prove you're not mentally fit to serve as executor of Helen's estate, he can have you removed and potentially take control of Emma's trust himself. My blood ran cold. A conservatorship. It's called elder abuse when it's done for financial gain, but yes. Marcus could hire doctors to evaluate you claim you're suffering from dementia or cognitive decline and petition the court to place you under his legal guardianship. It's horrifyingly common in inheritance disputes, and it's very difficult to defend against once the process starts. I thought about the investor party. The way Marcus had looked at me with contempt when I'd retrieved the music box from the trash. The way Vanessa had smirked. They'd already decided I was a foolish old man living in the past. He'll come after me, I said quietly. The moment he realizes what you have, yes. Patricia closed the file. Robert, I need you to understand what we're up against. Marcus will hire the best lawyers money can buy, or money can borrow in his case. He'll attack your credibility, your mental state, your fitness as a grandfather. He'll make you look dangerous or incompetent or both, and he'll do it publicly because that's how men like him operate. What do I do? We build an airtight case before he knows we're coming. We need documentation of his fraud witness statements from the party medical evaluations proving your competency and evidence of Marcus's unfitness as a parent. She pulled out a business card and slid it across the desk. This is Daniel Foster. He's a private investigator, former FBI. If Marcus has skeletons, Daniel will find them. We'll need them. I took the card, my hands steadier than I expected. Marcus had thrown away more than a music box that night. He'd thrown away any remaining shred of my sympathy. Patricia, I said, when Marcus realizes those certificates exist and that I'm not backing down, what will he do? She met my eyes and I saw the truth there before she spoke. Desperate men don't play by the rules, Robert. They play to win no matter who gets hurt. And right now, you're standing between Marcus and $27 million he thinks belongs to him. I stood, tucking Daniel Foster's business card into my pocket. Outside the window, the Bay Bridge gleamed in the midday sun, thousands of people crossing it without knowing their lives were about to intersect with mine in the ugliest way possible. Then we'd better move fast, I said. Tuesday afternoon, I sat across from Daniel Foster in a small office that smelled like old coffee and determination. The space was nothing fancy, just a desk, 2 chairs, and walls covered with framed commendations from his FBI days. Daniel himself looked like someone who'd spent 30 years learning how to read people and never forgot a single lesson. Mid-50s, graying hair, cut military short, and eyes that missed nothing. "I work fast when kids are involved," he said, sliding a thick manila folder across the desk. "What I found in 48 hours isn't pretty, Robert. Are you sure you want to see this?" I thought about Emma's face when Marcus had thrown the music box away. "Show me everything." Daniel opened the folder. The first document was a bank statement with a Cayman Islands header. "Your son has been moving money offshore for 6 months. $3 million across 4 accounts, Cayman Islands, Singapore, and 1 in Zurich. The transfers started small to avoid triggering automatic reports, but they accelerated 3 weeks ago." $3 million. My throat tightened. He's planning to run. Not planning, preparing. Daniel pulled out printed airline confirmations. Singapore Airlines departures scheduled for 2 weeks from yesterday. 3 one-way tickets, first class. Marcus Sullivan, Emma Sullivan, and Lily Harrison. Who's Lily Harrison? 28 years old venture capital analyst at Pinnacle Ventures, the same firm currently suing Marcus for fraud. She's his mistress. Daniel pulled out printed text messages. "They met 8 months ago. The affair started shortly after. Look at this exchange from 2 weeks ago." The messages were coldly calculating Marcus tickets confirmed. "Yumi E. New life starts Friday. Lily, your wife, Marcus deadweight. Vanessa stays. Divorce from abroad. Lily and the kid. Marcus Emma has trust fund access at $27 million. Worth the inconvenience." I stared at the screen, nausea rising. He's taking Emma because of the money. He doesn't know about the stock certificates yet, but he knows Helen left something substantial. He's taking her to control her future inheritance. Daniel's jaw tightened. Lily has family connections in Singapore, speaks Mandarin, knows international finance law. She's useful. Vanessa isn't. "Singapore has complicated extradition," I said quietly. "Exactly. Once Marcus gets Emma out of the country, especially if he claims he's protecting her from an unstable grandfather, getting her back becomes exponentially harder." Daniel's expression darkened. "Which brings me to the next part." He pulled out a different folder. Inside were printed emails and school documents. "Emma's school counselor, Mrs. Rodriguez, has been keeping notes for 2 years. With Patricia's legal justification, I obtained copies through child welfare protocols. I read the first entry dated 18 months ago. Emma Sullivan 7 exhibits persistent anxiety when discussing her father. She describes feeling like she can't do anything right and expresses fear of disappointing him. Recommend monitoring." Another entry from 6 months ago. Emma arrived upset. Her father criticized her straight A's because they weren't good enough for Stanford. She asked if there was extra credit to make him proud. Concerning pattern. A third entry from 3 months ago. Emma flinched during fire drill. When asked if loud noises scared her, she said, "Only when Daddy's voice gets loud." Requested parent conference, father declined. Grandfather attended and expressed concern. I couldn't breathe. These notes read like a catalog of suffering I'd been too blind to see. Emma had been hurting for years, and I'd thought Marcus was just demanding. I'd called it tough love. "There are 12 entries total," Daniel said quietly. "Each document's escalating anxiety and fear. Marcus never attended conferences. You attended 4 this year. You were the only adult besides Helen who noticed Emma was struggling. "Helen noticed," I whispered. "She tried to tell me." "There's more." Daniel pulled out a USB drive. "The building where Marcus lives has security cameras. I accessed footage from the past month. This is difficult to watch." He opened his laptop. The video showed the building's lobby 3 weeks ago. Emma and Marcus entered, Emma in her school uniform carrying a heavy backpack. The audio was clear. "I got an A- on my math test," Emma's small voice said. Marcus stopped walking. His expression hardened. "An A-? Do you think that's acceptable?" "I'm sorry, Daddy. The teacher said it was really good." "I don't care what your teacher said. Your teacher isn't trying to build a legacy." His voice was cold, controlled. Worse than yelling. "You embarrass me, Emma. Every time you settle for good enough, you embarrass this family." Emma's shoulders hunched. "I'm sorry. I'll do better." "Sorry doesn't fix mediocrity. Go to your room. I don't want to look at you right now." The video continued. Emma walking to the elevator alone, small figure hunched. She pressed the button and waited perfectly still, like any movement might make things worse. When the doors opened, she stepped inside and stood facing the corner, head down. Marcus pulled out his phone, expression shifting to pleasant charm within seconds, laughing at something as if he hadn't just destroyed his daughter's spirit. Daniel stopped the video. My hands were shaking. "That's emotional abuse," Daniel said gently. "Clear pattern, documented evidence, multiple witnesses, and this," he pulled out another document. "Email from Helen to Patricia, March 2022. Helen's email was short, but devastating. "Patricia, I'm worried about my granddaughter. Marcus is too harsh. She's 7 and already terrified of failure. She flinches when he raises his voice. She cries herself to sleep after he criticizes her. I've tried talking to him. He says I'm being soft. I need to know Emma will be protected if something happens to me. Can we adjust the trust parameters?" Patricia's response, "Helen, I'll draft the character clause we discussed. If Marcus demonstrates serious disrespect for family legacy or harmful behavior, Robert can intervene. The trust will protect Emma's inheritance and give legal grounds to ensure her well-being. Come by next week to review and sign." I set the email down carefully. Helen knew. She knew what Marcus was doing, and she built a legal escape hatch. Your wife protected your granddaughter from her own father. The music box, the stock certificates, the character clause, everything designed to give you the tools to save Emma when the time came. The pieces fell into place with sickening clarity. Helen hadn't hidden the certificates to test Marcus. She'd hidden them because she knew Marcus would steal Emma's inheritance, abuse her emotionally, and take her somewhere Robert couldn't follow. The music box was a message: save her. I gave you everything you need. Every decision Helen made in those final months suddenly made sense. The meticulous planning, the careful legal language, the hidden compartment. Helen had been dying, but she'd used every moment to protect the granddaughter she wouldn't live to see grow up. "What do we do?" My voice cracked. "We have 2 weeks before Marcus boards that plane. Patricia's filing emergency petitions, but we need—" My phone rang. Marcus's name on the screen. Daniel's hand shot out. "Don't answer. If he's calling out of the blue, he might know we're investigating. Anything you say can be used in court." The phone kept ringing. I thought about Emma in that elevator, shoulders hunched, facing the corner. I thought about Marcus planning to take her to Singapore with a woman who saw her as an inconvenience. I thought about Helen building this protection because she knew I'd need it. I picked up the phone. "Hello, Marcus?" Daniel's fingers flew across his keyboard. A red recording light appeared on screen. He gestured for me to put the phone on speaker. "Marcus," I said steadily, "is everything all right?" Everything would be fine if you hadn't humiliated me in front of 100 investors. His voice was cold controlled. Showing up with that ridiculous music box, making a scene. I'm calling to make something clear, Dad. Don't contact Emma. Throw that music box away. It's over. I'm not throwing away your mother's gift to Emma. Of course not. Because you're living in the past, clinging to a woman who's been gone for 2 years. His voice shifted to false sympathy. You're 68 years old. Your judgment is slipping. Your behavior at the party wasn't normal. People noticed. The conservatorship threat. Daniel's pen moved rapidly across his notepad. I'm not confused, Marcus. Really, because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you need help. Professional supervision. A care facility where people can look after you properly. Vanessa and I have been discussing it. We're worried about you living alone. I kept my voice level despite the white-hot rage. I don't need a nursing home. I have witnesses who will testify you're not capable of managing your own affairs. I have documentation. When the time comes, I'll take the legal steps necessary to ensure you're properly cared for. It's what Mom would have wanted. The mention of Helen shattered something inside me. Don't talk about what your mother would have wanted. I know she wouldn't want you confused and angry clinging to the past. His voice hardened. This conversation is over. Lose the music box. Stay away from my family. Or I'll have doctors evaluate you, and we both know what they'll find. Marcus, you know what the worst part was. His voice dropped almost conversational. When Mom got sick, stage 3. The oncologist said there was a treatment option, experimental, expensive 30% success rate. She begged me to help with the costs, said she wanted to see Emma grow up. He laughed bitterly. No, 30%. $200,000 for a 30% chance. That's not an investment, Dad. That's throwing money away. I told her no. The world stopped. I watched her face when I explained it was a bad financial decision. She looked at me like I was a stranger. But I was right, she died anyway. The treatment would have been a waste. At least I saved $200,000. You killed her, I whispered. I made a rational decision. Something you're clearly no longer capable of. Remember what I said, Dad. Stay away from my family. I know how to remove obstacles when they become problematic. The line went dead. Daniel reached across and gently took the phone. We got everything. The threats, the conservatorship language, the admission about Helen's treatment, and that last statement. That's strong evidence, Robert. He let her die to save money. I know. And now we have proof of his character. The next morning, I met Vanessa at a marina cafe. She arrived 15 minutes late wearing designer sunglasses that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Robert. She removed her sunglasses, revealing calculating eyes. I was surprised by your call. Marcus doesn't like us meeting without him. I needed to speak with you about Emma. I'm concerned about the pressure Marcus puts on her. Emma is fine. She'll adjust. Vanessa sipped her latte. Is that really why you wanted to meet to discuss Marcus's parenting? Her tone made it clear she didn't believe me. I wanted to understand your perspective on Helen's estate. Interest flashed in her eyes. Helen's estate. Marcus mentioned there might be assets we weren't aware of. A music box, he said. Something valuable. Possibly. How valuable? She leaned forward. Because Marcus's business is in serious trouble, Robert. Investors are circling, lawsuits everywhere. We might lose everything. If Helen left something significant, I need to know. No mention of Emma, and of just calculation about money. The estate is complicated. There are trust provisions for Emma. For Emma, right. Vanessa's expression hardened. Everything always has to be for Emma, the precious granddaughter. Meanwhile, Marcus and I are drowning in debt, and there's potentially millions in Helen's estate that could save us. The estate is Emma's inheritance. Emma is 7 years old. She doesn't need millions of dollars. We do. Right now. Her mask cracked. Marcus said you have documents, certificates or something. We need those, Robert. If you care about your son, you'll help us access whatever Helen left behind. I stood, leaving money on the table. I do care about my son. That's why I'm not helping him steal from his daughter. And I care about Emma enough to protect her from both of you. Understanding dawned, followed by anger. You're making a mistake. Marcus doesn't lose Robert. He'll destroy you in court. He'll put you in a nursing home and take everything. You're just a confused old man standing between us and the money we need to survive. Then we'll see what the courts think. Robert. Her voice stopped me. Marcus told me about your call yesterday, about removing obstacles. You should take that seriously. When Marcus feels cornered, he doesn't think clearly. And right now, he's very, very cornered. It wasn't quite a threat. It wasn't quite a warning. It was acknowledgement that Marcus's empire was cracking and desperate men were dangerous. I walked away, leaving Vanessa to her calculations. Now I knew for certain I was fighting both of them. Marcus with his threats, Vanessa with her greed and willingness to sacrifice Emma for money. The empire was cracking, but wounded animals were the most dangerous kind. Thursday morning, someone knocked on my door with official authority. The process server handed me a manila envelope and disappeared. Inside was a thick stack of documents with a blue cover sheet. Petition for conservatorship of person and estate petitioner Marcus Sullivan proposed. Conservatee Robert Sullivan. I sat at my kitchen table and forced myself to read. The petitioner requests the court appoint him as conservator for Robert Sullivan, age 68, who is no longer capable of managing his own affairs due to progressive cognitive decline and impaired judgment. The petition cited evidence psychiatric evaluation by Dr. Richard Morrison documenting memory lapses and delusional behavior. Witness statements from the April 20th investor event describing confused and agitated conduct. Financial mismanagement regarding obsessive fixation on worthless antiques. Safety risks from inability to recognize appropriate social boundaries. Every word painted me as a confused old man. At the bottom, hearing scheduled for May 22nd, 30 days from today. I called Patricia immediately. 40 minutes later, I sat in her office while she read through the petition. Finally, she set it down. This is aggressive. Marcus is going for full conservatorship, person and estate. If he wins, he controls everything. Where you live, what medical care you receive, who you can see, how you spend your money. Can he do this? If the court believes you're incompetent, yes. Conservatorships are weaponized in inheritance disputes. She pulled out a legal pad. Let's break down his strategy. Dr. Richard Morrison. I looked him up. He testifies in about 20 conservatorship cases a year, almost always for the petitioner. He finds exactly what he's hired to find. He evaluated me without my knowledge. He can base his opinion on observed behavior at the party and statements from Marcus. She made a note. We'll challenge his bias, but we need our own evaluation. I'm scheduling you with Dr. Sarah Bennett at UCSF. She's a neurologist, completely independent, respected by every judge in the county. What about the witness statements? People from the party who saw you retrieve the music box. Marcus will frame it as erratic behavior. Out of context, it might look concerning. Patricia's expression hardened. But Marcus assumes you'll be an easy target. He doesn't know we've been building a case against him for a week. What do we do? She wrote rapidly. 1 UCSF evaluation. Dr. Bennett will conduct full neurological and cognitive assessment. Will prove there's nothing wrong with your mind. 2. Gather witnesses. Tommy Morrison, neighbors, anyone who can testify to your competence and independence. 3. Expose Dr. Morrison. I'll subpoena his financial records. If he's been paid unusually well by Marcus, or if there's a pattern of biased testimony, we can discredit him. 4. Counter petition. We're filing for emergency temporary guardianship of Emma. We have the abuse evidence security footage. School counselor notes Helen's email. If Marcus is unfit, it undermines his entire petition. Can we do all that in 30 days? We don't have a choice. Patricia's phone buzzed. She frowned. Daniel says Marcus just liquidated another account. $500,000 moved offshore this morning. The Singapore flight. 2 weeks away. Marcus was accelerating. My phone rang. Emma's school. Mr. Sullivan, this is Principal Anderson at Westwood Elementary. There's been a change to Emma Sullivan's authorized contact list. Your name has been removed along with your emergency contact information. The request came from her father this morning with documentation stating, "You're no longer to have contact due to health concerns. School policy requires us to honor parental requests unless there's a court order. I'm her grandfather. I've picked her up for 2 years. I'm truly sorry. If you can provide court documentation indicating legal rights, we can update our records. But until then, our hands are tied." After she hung up, I sat staring at my phone. Marcus had cut me off from Emma completely. No school pickup. No visits. He was isolating me. Patricia had listened. He's trying to break you, cut you off from Emma, make you feel powerless. It's working. No, it's not. Because we're not playing his game anymore. She stood gathering files. Dr. Bennett's office opens in an hour. I'm scheduling your evaluation for tomorrow morning. Then we're filing the counter petition this afternoon. Marcus thinks he has 30 days to grind you down. He's wrong. We're going on a fence. I looked at the conservatorship petition. 30 days. In 30 days, a judge would decide if I was competent to manage my own life, or if my son would control everything: my home, my money, my freedom. And Emma. If Marcus won, he'd have legal authority over her trust fund. He could drain $27 million before anyone could stop him. Then he'd board that plane to Singapore with Emma, and I'd be powerless to save her. 30 days, I said quietly. 30 days to prove you're sharp, strong, and fighting for your granddaughter. Patricia met my eyes. Can you do that? I thought about Helen building her chess game from beyond the grave. She'd given me every tool I needed. The certificates, the character clause, the trust structure. She'd known this day might come. Yes, I said. Let's fight. Friday morning, I sat in a waiting room at UCSF Memory Center that smelled like antiseptic and anxiety. The walls were covered with calming beach photographs that didn't calm anyone. Patricia had arranged this evaluation within 24 hours of Marcus's petition. Dr. Sarah Bennett was apparently the most respected neurologist in San Francisco, and her assessments carried serious weight in court. A nurse called my name, Doctor. Bennett's office was exactly what you'd expect. Diplomas from Johns Hopkins and Stanford medical journals stacked neatly, a framed photo of 2 teenagers who probably didn't appreciate having a genius for a mother. Dr. Bennett herself was in her early 50s with the kind of focused intensity that made you sit up straight. Mr. Sullivan, Patricia Williams speaks highly of you. She gestured to a chair. I understand your son has filed for conservatorship based on alleged cognitive decline. Let's find out if there's any truth to that. The next 3 hours were the most thorough examination of my brain I'd ever experienced. Pattern recognition tests, where I had to identify sequences in visual puzzles. Memory tests where she read me a story and I had to repeat it back then, recall it again 20 minutes later. Problem-solving exercises, mathematical reasoning, even an MRI scan that involved lying perfectly still in a machine that sounded like a construction site. Doctor. Bennett reviewed the results, while I waited, wondering if 68 years of living had left any cracks Marcus could exploit. Finally, she looked up. Mr. Sullivan, I'm going to be direct. Your son is either profoundly mistaken or deliberately lying. Your cognitive function is not just normal for your age, it's superior. Pattern recognition in the 95th percentile. Memory recall perfect across all tested domains. MRI shows a completely healthy brain with no signs of dementia, vascular disease, or any neurological condition that would impair judgment. Relief flooded through me so powerfully I had to grip the armrests. My official report will state you have zero cognitive impairment and are fully competent to manage your own affairs, medical decisions, and finances. Whatever Dr. Morrison claimed in his evaluation, it has no basis in objective medical reality. She handed me a sealed envelope. Give this to Patricia. I'll testify if necessary. The following week became a blur of preparation. Patricia's office transformed into command central, with whiteboards tracking witnesses, evidence, and timeline. She'd assembled 4 people willing to testify about my competence: Tommy Morrison, who'd known me 30 years and could speak to my sharp mind and technical knowledge; Mrs. Anderson, my neighbor of 15 years, who saw me daily and could confirm I lived independently without any signs of confusion; Mr. Johnson, my bank manager, who'd handled my finances for a decade and could testify I managed money responsibly; and Ms. Roberts, Emma's second-grade teacher, who'd witnessed countless school pickups where I was punctual, appropriate, and clearly loved by my granddaughter. These aren't just character witnesses, Patricia explained during our prep session. They're pattern-of-life witnesses. They contradict Marcus's narrative that you've recently declined. If you were as impaired as he claims, someone in your daily life would have noticed. Daniel arrived Tuesday afternoon with a thick folder and a grim smile. Found the smoking guns. He spread documents across Patricia's conference table. Dr. Richard Morrison received a $50,000 wire transfer from Marcus's personal account 2 days before the conservatorship petition was filed. That's 10 times his usual consultation fee. Can we prove it's connected to his evaluation? Patricia asked. The wire transfer memo says psychiatric consultation services. Plus, I pulled Morrison's disciplinary records. His medical license was revoked in Nevada in 2019 for providing fraudulent expert testimony in 3 separate conservatorship cases. He moved to California and got licensed here, but his reputation in the medical community is toxic. He's basically a hired gun who'll say whatever you pay him to say. What about the other witnesses Marcus cited? I asked. Daniel flipped to another section. Derek Hammond, Marcus's business partner. According to emails I obtained through Discovery, Marcus promised Hammond a 5% equity stake in his new company if he'd testify about your concerning behavior at the investor party. That's witness tampering. And the staged incidents. Complete fabrication. Marcus claimed you had a confused episode at a coffee shop on Chestnut Street, couldn't remember your order, got agitated with staff. I pulled your phone location data. You weren't anywhere near Chestnut Street that day. You were at Tommy's shop in North Beach. Camera footage confirms it. Patricia was writing rapidly. This is enough to get Morrison's testimony excluded and potentially file criminal charges against Marcus for witness tampering and making false statements to the court. There's more, Daniel said quietly. Marcus booked new flights yesterday. Singapore Airlines departing Thursday night. That's the day before the conservatorship hearing was originally scheduled. The room went silent. He was planning to run, I said. Take Emma and disappear before the court could rule. and take the 27 million with him if he'd won conservatorship over you. Patricia's expression hardened. He'd have immediate access to any assets you controlled, including Emma's trust, if he could argue you were mismanaging it. My phone buzzed. Patricia's paralegal stuck her head in. Judge Rodriguez's clerk just called. Marcus filed an emergency motion to expedite the hearing. The judge granted it. New hearing date is next Thursday, 7 days from now. 7 days. The 30-day timeline had just been compressed to 1 week. Why would Marcus do that? I asked. Doesn't that hurt him less time to build his case? Patricia and Daniel exchanged looks. He knows we have Dr. Bennett's report, Patricia said. He knows his witnesses are falling apart. He's gambling that if he forces a rushed hearing, we won't have time to fully expose all his lies. Plus, his flight leaves Thursday night. If he loses the hearing Thursday afternoon, he can still grab Emma and run. We can get an emergency custody order, Daniel said. Prevent him from taking Emma out of state. Not without proving immediate danger, which requires the conservatorship hearing to go forward. Patricia stood, pacing. Marcus just backed us into a corner. We either win next Thursday, or we lose everything. 7 days. 168 hours to prepare for a hearing that would determine if I kept my freedom, my home, and any chance of saving Emma. I looked at the evidence spread across the table, Dr. Bennett's report, the witness statements, Morrison's fraudulent history, Hammond's bribery, emails, the fake incident reports. We had truth on our side, but Marcus had desperation, and desperate men played by different rules. 7 days, I said quietly. Then let's make them count. Monday morning, my phone rang with a number I'd deleted but still recognized. Vanessa. Robert. Her voice was tight, controlled. We need to talk. Privately. Today. Every instinct screamed trap, but I thought about the hearing in 3 days and the evidence we still needed. Where? Café Reverie on Fillmore. Noon. Come alone. She hung up before I could respond. I called Patricia immediately. Vanessa wants to meet. It could be a setup. Or she's jumping ship. Patricia was quiet for a moment. Marcus's empire is collapsing. Desperate people make alliances. Record everything, Robert. Your phone has a voice memo app. Turn it on before you meet her. Café Reverie was dim and quiet, tucked into a Fillmore Street corner where Pacific Heights money went to hide. Vanessa sat at a back table, designer sunglasses pushed up in her hair, expensive jewelry catching the low light. But her makeup couldn't quite hide the stress cracks, dark circles, tight mouth hands that wouldn't stay still. I slid into the chair across from her, my phone already recording in my jacket pocket. Thank you for coming. She didn't waste time on pleasantries. Marcus is planning to run. Thursday night, right after the hearing. Singapore Airlines first class. 3 tickets. 3. Him, Emma, and that woman, Lily Harrison. She pulled out her phone and slid it across the table. The screen showed a photo of Marcus and a young woman, late 20s, blonde, laughing at something he'd said. They were holding hands outside a restaurant I didn't recognize. The timestamp was from 2 weeks ago. His mistress, Vanessa said flatly. Works at the venture capital firm that's currently suing him for fraud. Apparently they've been seeing each other for 6 months. He thinks I don't know. She swiped to more photos. Marcus and Lily at a hotel. Text message screenshots showing planning affection promises. Flight confirmations for 3 passengers departing Thursday at 11:45 p.m. Hotel reservations in Singapore starting Friday. He's leaving me with nothing. Vanessa continued, her voice brittle. Debts, lawsuits, a foreclosed penthouse. He's taking Emma and the woman he's been sleeping with to start over, and I'm supposed to just accept it. I studied her face. The anger was real, but I couldn't tell if it was about betrayal or money. Why tell me this? Because I want to make a deal. She leaned forward. I have evidence that destroys Marcus. Photos, texts, financial documents showing he's been moving money offshore for months. Hotel receipts, everything. I'll testify against him in the conservatorship hearing. I'll give you all of it. But I want something in return. What? Custody of Emma. And 50% of Helen's inheritance. The cafe seemed to go silent around us. She was offering to betray her husband, hand over evidence that would annihilate his case. But the price was Emma and $13 million. You want custody? I kept my voice neutral, letting her talk, letting the recording capture everything. Marcus is unfit, you know that. You've been trying to prove it. I can help you. With my testimony about his abuse, his affair, his flight plans, he loses everything. But Emma needs a parent. Someone stable. She straightened her shoulders. I can provide that, if I have the financial resources. $13 million for stability. 50% of what Emma would inherit anyway. The other half stays in trust for her education, future, whatever. I'm not being unreasonable, Robert. I'm being practical. Emma gets $13 million. I get $13 million. Everyone benefits. Except Marcus. Marcus deserves what's coming to him. Her eyes hardened. He humiliated me, lied to me, planned to abandon me. Now I have the power to destroy him, and I'm offering you that power. All I want is fair compensation. I leaned back, watching her carefully. Tell me about Emma. How would you care for her? Something flickered in Vanessa's expression, impatience maybe, or calculation. Emma is a resilient child. She'll adjust. Children do. That's not what I asked. How would you care for her day to day? School activities, bedtime, the actual work of raising a 7-year-old. I'd provide for her. Excellent education, proper supervision. Would you help with her homework? Read her bedtime stories, take her to the park on weekends. Vanessa's mask cracked. Robert, let's be honest. I'm not a natural mother. I didn't sign up to raise Marcus's daughter, but Emma is tough, she'll manage. We'd send her to boarding school. Switzerland has excellent institutions. The best education money can buy. She'd be fine. Boarding school. In Switzerland. She's 7 years old. She'd get a world-class education, make international connections, learn independence. It's better than anything Marcus would provide, certainly better than emotional manipulation. Vanessa's voice took on an edge of irritation. I'm offering you a solution, Robert. I'm not interested in playing housewife and mother. I'm interested in financial security. Marcus destroyed my life. I deserve compensation. Emma gets $13 million in trust. That's more than enough for boarding school, college, everything she needs. I get the other half to rebuild my life. It's fair. Fair. She thought shipping a traumatized 7-year-old to another continent so she could collect $13 million was fair. And if I don't agree to these terms, I asked, then I keep this evidence to myself. Maybe I work out my own deal with Marcus. Maybe I let you two destroy each other while I protect my interests. She pulled a USB drive from her purse and set it on the table. But I'd rather work with you. You're more predictable than Marcus. And frankly, you're going to win this conservatorship fight. I want to be on the winning side. I picked up the USB drive, feeling its weight. Evidence that could destroy Marcus. Photos of the affair. Text messages planning Emma's abduction to Singapore. Financial documents proving fraud. Everything we needed handed to me by a woman who saw a 7-year-old as a $13 million bargaining chip. I'll need time to review the evidence. Consult with my attorney. You have until Wednesday morning. After that, my offer expires and I make other arrangements. Vanessa stood adjusting her sunglasses. I'm not the enemy here, Robert. Marcus is. I'm just trying to survive. She left without waiting for a response. I sat alone at the table, the USB drive in my hand, my phone still recording in my pocket. Patricia answered on the first ring. How did it go? I have evidence to destroy Marcus, I said quietly. And evidence that Vanessa is just as unfit. She wants to ship Emma to boarding school in Switzerland so she can collect $13 million. You recorded it, every word. I looked at the USB drive. Patricia, I can't let Emma go to either of them. Marcus will abuse her. Vanessa will abandon her. They both see her as an asset, not a person. Then we use this. Both recordings, both betrayals. We prove neither parent is fit, and we petition for your guardianship. Patricia's voice was firm. 3 days, Robert. We take them both down, and we bring Emma home. I left the cafe carrying evidence that would destroy 2 people. But all I could think about was a 7-year-old girl who deserved parents who loved her, and instead got ones who only loved money. Thursday morning, I walked into courtroom 304 of San Francisco Superior Court, feeling like I was entering a battlefield. Wood-paneled walls, high ceilings, the judge's bench elevated like a throne. Gallery seats filled with a handful of observers, mostly law students, taking notes. Patricia sat beside me at the respondents' table, organized files stacked precisely. Across the aisle, Marcus sat with his attorney Mitchell Bradford, looking confident in an expensive suit. Judge Maria Rodriguez entered, a woman in her 50s with steel gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. All rise. We stood. She settled into her chair, reviewing documents. In the matter of Marcus Sullivan, petitioner, versus Robert Sullivan, respondent. Petition for conservatorship of person and estate. Mr. Bradford, you may proceed. Bradford stood smooth and polished. Your Honor, this is a straightforward case. The respondent, Robert Sullivan, is 68 years old and exhibiting clear signs of cognitive decline. He's made irrational decisions, demonstrated confusion in public settings, and poses a risk to himself. His son, Marcus Sullivan, seeks only to ensure his father receives proper care and supervision. Judge Rodriguez looked at me, then at Bradford. Present your evidence. We call Dr. Richard Morrison, psychiatrist. Dr. Morrison took the stand, sworn in, and delivered his prepared testimony with practiced ease. Based on my evaluation of observed behaviors and medical history, Mr. Sullivan exhibits symptoms consistent with early-stage dementia. Memory lapses, impaired judgment, difficulty managing complex tasks. In my professional opinion, he requires supervised care. Patricia stood for cross-examination. Dr. Morrison, how much were you paid for this evaluation, my consultation fee, which is $5,000? Patricia pulled out a document. Your Honor, I'd like to submit Exhibit A, a wire transfer receipt showing Dr. Morrison received $50,000 from Marcus Sullivan 2 days before filing his report, 10 times his stated fee. The courtroom stirred. Dr. Morrison's face went red. Dr. Morrison, Patricia continued, is it true your medical license was revoked in Nevada in 2019 for providing fraudulent expert testimony in conservatorship cases? That matter was complicated. Yes or no, doctor? The Nevada Board made an error in judgment. Your Honor, I submit the Nevada Medical Board disciplinary records. Dr. Morrison's license was permanently revoked for systematic fraud. Patricia turned back to Morrison. You're essentially a hired gun who says whatever people pay you to say, aren't you? Objection. Bradford was on his feet. Overruled, Judge Rodriguez said quietly, making notes. Continue, Ms. Williams. Patricia dismissed Morrison with a gesture. No further questions for this witness. Next came Derek Hammond, Marcus's business partner, who testified about Robert's concerning behavior at the investor party. Patricia produced the email within minutes. Mr. Hammond did. Marcus Sullivan promised you a 5% equity stake in his company in exchange for your testimony today. Derek's face went pale. That was a separate business arrangement. Answer the question. Did he promise you equity in exchange for testifying that Robert Sullivan is incompetent? Silence. Then quietly, yes. Judge Rodriguez's expression hardened. Mr. Bradford, I'm noting potential witness tampering. Continue. The petitioner calls Marcus Sullivan. Marcus took the stand, projecting sincerity and concern. Your Honor, this is the hardest thing I've ever had to do. I love my father, but I've watched him decline over the past year. Confused episodes, memory problems, irrational decisions. I'm terrified he'll hurt himself. I just want him safe. Patricia stood holding a thick folder. Mr. Sullivan, you claim your father had a confused episode at a cafe on Chestnut Street, April 15th. Can you describe it? He couldn't remember his coffee order. Got agitated with staff. It was concerning. Patricia pulled out phone records. Your Honor, Mr. Sullivan's phone location data shows he was nowhere near Chestnut Street that day. He was in North Beach, confirmed by security footage at Morrison's timepieces. This confused episode never happened. Marcus's composure cracked slightly. I may have gotten the date wrong. You also claimed he had an agitated outburst at his bank. But bank security footage shows a calm, routine transaction. These incidents were fabricated, weren't they? I was concerned I may have misremembered. Mr. Sullivan, are you currently under SEC investigation for securities fraud? Bradford jumped up. Objection relevance. Goes to credibility, Your Honor. Patricia said calmly. The petitioner is facing criminal investigation and substantial debts. This conservatorship would give him control over his father's assets and his daughter's trust fund. Judge Rodriguez leaned forward. I'll allow it. Answer the question, Mr. Sullivan. There's an ongoing inquiry, but yes or no? Yes. Patricia's voice went cold. Is it true you refused to pay for your mother's cancer treatment 2 years ago because you deemed it not cost-effective? Marcus's face went white. The courtroom was dead silent. That was a private family matter. Your mother told multiple people you refused to help fund experimental treatment that might have extended her life. You chose money over your mother, and now you're trying to seize control of your father's assets under the guise of concern. Isn't that the truth? You don't understand. No further questions. The respondent calls Robert Sullivan, Patricia announced. I took the stand, my heart pounding, but my mind clear. Patricia led me through testimony, my daily routine, my relationship with Helen, my memories of her final months. I spoke clearly, detailing dates, events, conversations, no confusion, no hesitation. Mr. Sullivan, can you tell the court about the music box? I described finding it in the trash, discovering the hidden compartment, the stock certificates worth $27 million that Helen had left for Emma. Judge Rodriguez listened intently. Patricia submitted Dr. Bennett's UCSF report. Your Honor, Dr. Sarah Bennett, a respected UCSF neurologist, conducted comprehensive neurological and cognitive testing. Her conclusion: Robert Sullivan has 0 cognitive impairment, superior function for his age, fully competent. Judge Rodriguez read the report, then looked at Marcus with something close to contempt. I've heard enough. She set down her papers. This petition is not only without merit, it appears to be a calculated attempt to seize control of the respondent's assets and isolate him from his granddaughter. Petition dismissed with prejudice. Furthermore, I am referring this matter to the District Attorney's Office for investigation of elder abuse, witness, tampering, and perjury. The gavel came down like thunder. Court is adjourned. Outside the courthouse, sunlight felt too bright for the darkness we'd just exposed. Patricia was on her phone coordinating next steps. I stood on the steps trying to process the victory that felt incomplete. Daniel appeared at my elbow, his expression grim. "Robert, Marcus changed his flight." "What?" "Not tonight, tomorrow morning. Friday 9 a.m., Singapore Airlines. 3 passengers, Marcus Sullivan, Lily Harrison, and Emma Sullivan." The victory turned to ice in my chest. He's going to take her. Tonight or early tomorrow. He knows he lost. He's running. Daniel's jaw was tight. You have less than 24 hours before he disappears with Emma forever. I looked back at the courthouse where Marcus was exiting with Bradford, his face a mask of rage. He saw me watching, and his expression promised violence. The battle was won. But the war had just entered its final desperate phase. Thursday afternoon, Patricia's office became a war room. Whiteboards with timelines, maps, contact numbers. Daniel marked critical times in red. Patricia coordinated calls with family court, the DA, and CPS, less than 30 hours to save Emma. "Updated intel," Daniel said. "Marcus's flight is 11 p.m. Friday night, not morning, Singapore Airlines. He lied about timing in case anyone was watching." "That gives us more time," Patricia said. "But I've filed emergency guardianship papers. Earliest hearing is Monday. Emma will be in Singapore by then, unless we stop Marcus tomorrow." She pulled out her legal pad. "Our options. 1. Get a court order tonight prohibiting Marcus from leaving with Emma. Difficult needs emergency judge. Marcus's lawyers will fight. 2. Have police arrest Marcus on elder abuse referral. Problem DA hasn't filed charges yet. 3. We set a trap," Daniel finished. Patricia's phone rang. She glanced at the screen. "It's Vanessa." She answered on speaker. Vanessa's voice came through frantic. "He's leaving me. Marcus is taking that woman and Emma tomorrow night. He called me dead weight. He's packing Emma's things right now and she's crying." "Vanessa, where are you?" Patricia asked. "In the bedroom. Marcus doesn't know I'm calling. I want to destroy him. Whatever you're planning, I want in." I looked at Patricia and Daniel. This was our chance. "Vanessa, can you keep Emma at the apartment until tomorrow evening?" I asked. "Why?" "Because if you help protect Emma, the courts will see you cooperated. It could help any custody proceedings." Silence. "Then, what do you want me to do?" "Tell Marcus you want one last family dinner tomorrow. 6 p.m. Say you want Emma to have one normal evening. Make it sound like you're accepting the situation. He'll suspect something." "He thinks he won," Daniel said. "Flight's not until 11. He'll assume he has time, and it gives him a chance to gloat." Pause. "If I do this, I want written assurances about custody." "Vanessa," I cut her off. "Emma is crying in the next room. Do this because it's right, or do it for yourself, I don't care. But do it now." "Fine." She hung up. Patricia was already moving. "If we have Emma at the apartment tomorrow at 6, we can coordinate intervention. I'll contact CPS. Lisa Martinez is on call. We'll need police standby in case Marcus becomes violent." "Legal basis?" I asked. "Imminent danger. Marcus has a flight to a country with complicated extradition, demonstrated abuse, fleeing investigations. CPS can take emergency custody. Combined with our petition, we keep Emma safe while courts decide permanent custody." Daniel was on his phone. "I've got SFPD contacts. Plainclothes officers in the building marked unit around corner. If Marcus tries leaving early, they stop him for questioning." My phone buzzed. "Vanessa." He agreed. Dinner tomorrow, 6 p.m. He smiled. Wants to rub it in your face. Good, Daniel said. He's not suspicious. He pulled a small black device from his bag. Digital voice recorder. Wireless transmission to my receiver. I'll be outside monitoring. If Marcus threatens you or Emma admits anything criminal, we'll have it recorded. Police can intervene immediately. He showed me the small adhesive patch that would go under my shirt. Nearly invisible, continuously recording. What if he searches me? He won't. He thinks he won. He's not worried about a 68-year-old man he just tried to put in a nursing home. Daniel's expression was grim. But understand the risk. If Marcus realizes this is a trap, he might grab Emma and run. Officers will be ready, but there could be a window where Emma is in danger. You'll be in the room with him. I thought about Emma watching her father throw away Helen's gift. About Helen building this protection from beyond the grave. About a 7-year-old who deserved better. I'll do it. By sunset, we had our plan emergency custody filed. CPS standing by. Police positioned. Surveillance van ready. Trap set for 6 p.m. Friday. Friday morning, I met Daniel in a parking garage. He attached the wire, carefully testing transmission. Keep him talking, Daniel said. If he threatens you or Emma, stay calm. We're listening. Officers can be inside in under 60 seconds. What if he leaves early? Vanessa will text, and we're watching the building. He met my eyes. One more night, Robert. Keep Emma safe for one more night. That evening, I stood outside Marcus's building, watching sunset. The wire pressed cold against my chest. In my pocket, Patricia on speed dial. Around the corner, police waited. Down the street, Daniel monitored every word. I thought about all the ways this could go wrong. Marcus could suspect, could become violent, could grab Emma before police reacted. One wrong word, and I'd lose her forever. But I also thought about Helen's music box, heavy with secrets and love. About $27 million that meant nothing compared to one little girl's safety. I pressed the button for the penthouse. Vanessa's voice, "Come up." The elevator felt like descending into battle. When doors opened, Marcus stood waiting Emma beside him with a small backpack. His smile was cold and triumphant. "Dad," he said. "So glad you could make it to our farewell dinner." Behind him, suitcases by the door. The wire recorded everything. "Let's eat," I said, and walked into the trap we'd set, carrying nothing but Helen's legacy and desperate hope that love could still triumph over greed. The penthouse dining room was designed to impress floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a table set for 5 with crystal glasses and polished silverware. Marcus sat at the head, Vanessa opposite, playing hostess. Lily Harrison sat beside Marcus, blonde and uncomfortable, refilling her wine glass nervously. Emma sat next to me, her small hand finding mine under the table. 3 suitcases waited in the corner. Flight left in 5 hours. The wire pressed cold against my chest, recording everything. "Dad, glad you could join us." Marcus poured wine with practiced ease. Vanessa insisted on one last family dinner before Emma and I travel. "Where are you traveling?" "Singapore, business opportunity. Emma will love it, international schools, new experiences." He reached over and ruffled Emma's hair. She flinched slightly, but he didn't notice. Emma's grip on my hand tightened. She leaned close and whispered, "Grandpa, I don't want to go. I want to stay with you." I squeezed her hand gently. 3 times. Our signal. "I know, sweetheart." Marcus smiled indulgently. "Emma's just nervous about the long flight. Children adjust quickly once they're in new environments." He was talking about Emma like she was a business asset being relocated, not a 7-year-old child being torn from everything familiar. Vanessa set down plates, catered food arranged to look homemade. Lily checked her phone constantly, clearly wishing she was anywhere else. Sitting across from Marcus's wife, pretending to be just a colleague, must have been uncomfortable even for someone as calculating as her. "Marcus," I said quietly, setting down my fork, "I need to tell you something about your mother. About the music box you threw away at your investor party." His jaw tightened immediately. "That worthless junk, what about it?" "It had a secret compartment." The room went still. Vanessa stopped mid-bite. Lily looked up from her phone. Marcus's hand froze on his wine glass. "What are you talking about?" I reached into my jacket slowly and pulled out copies of the stock certificates, 4 sheets with official seals and Helen's signature. I spread them across the table methodically, one by one. Inside were stock certificates, 15% of Apex Capital. Your mother invested $200,000 in your startup in March 2008, when no bank would touch you. When you sold the company to Tech Venture Group in October 2016 for $180 million, Emma's 15% was worth $27 million. Helen's signature on each certificate, the dates, the witness signatures, and the registration line, "In trust for Emma Sullivan." Marcus's face went white. Vanessa gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Lily stared at the documents, then at Marcus, then back at the documents. "You never disclosed those shares in the acquisition." I continued, my voice steady. "You signed papers claiming 100% ownership. You told Tech Venture you were the sole equity holder. But you weren't. 15% belonged to Emma. You stole $27 million from your own daughter. That money funded my company." Marcus's composure cracked like ice. "She had no right to invest without telling me. The certificates were legally registered. Your mother had every right. She funded your dream when no one else would, and you repaid her by stealing your daughter's inheritance." Vanessa stood abruptly, chair scraping. "Marcus, tell me this isn't true." "It's my money." Marcus slammed his fist on the table. Wine glasses jumped. Emma flinched against me. "I built that company from nothing. I worked 100-hour weeks. Mom just wrote a check. That money is mine." Lily grabbed her purse, hands trembling. "You stole from your own child. I thought you were just aggressive in business. Ruthless, but legal. But you're a thief." She stood backing toward the door. "I'm done. Don't call me. Don't contact me. We're finished." "Lily, wait." Marcus half rose, but she was already gone, the door slamming. Marcus stared at me with pure hatred. "You think you're smart? In 3 hours, Emma and I are on a plane to Singapore, and there's nothing you can do about it. You're a senile old man. No court will listen to you." "Marcus, stop talking." Vanessa's voice shook. "You're making it worse." "Shut up, this is your fault. You insisted on this stupid dinner." He turned back to me, breathing hard. "I'm Emma's father. I have legal custody. I can take her anywhere. Those certificates are probably fake, something you cooked up with that lawyer. No one will believe you." "I'm not the one they need to believe." I glanced at Emma. "You are, and you've just confessed to everything." Marcus's eyes narrowed. "What?" The front door burst open. 4 police officers entered, badges displayed. "Marcus Sullivan, you're under arrest for attempted custodial interference, securities fraud, and embezzlement. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." Marcus froze. Then reality crashed down. "This is insane. I'm her father. I have rights. Call Bradford." They turned him around, cuffing his hands behind his back. "You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you." Emma buried her face against my shoulder. I held her close, one hand over her ear to muffle her father's shouting as they led him past. Marcus looked at me, once pure, venomous hatred, silently promising revenge. He wouldn't get the chance. Lisa Martinez from CPS entered with another social worker. "Mrs. Sullivan, we need to discuss Emma's immediate placement." Vanessa straightened quickly, composing herself. "Of course. Emma will stay with me. I'm her stepmother. I can provide stability." "Mrs. Sullivan, we have concerns about both parents." Lisa's voice was gentle but firm. "We have a recording from this week where you discussed sending Emma to boarding school in Switzerland to access her inheritance. Your motivation was financial security for yourself, not Emma's well-being." Vanessa went pale. She looked at me. "You recorded me at the cafe. You wanted to ship my granddaughter to another continent for $13 million, I said quietly. "Yes, I recorded every word." Lisa knelt beside Emma. "Sweetheart, you're going to come with us for a little while, okay? Until the courts decide what's best. You'll be safe." "Can't I stay with Grandpa?" "We're working on that. Your grandfather filed for emergency guardianship, but right now we need to make sure you're in a safe placement." Emma looked up at me, tears streaming. "You'll come get me? You promise?" I knelt down, holding her small face in both hands. "I promise. Your grandmother left me everything I needed to keep you safe. It's going to take a few more days, but I will bring you home. To your apartment with the music box. To wherever you want home to be." Lisa took Emma's hand gently. "Come on, honey." I watched them lead Emma out, her small backpack on her shoulders, looking back at me every few steps until the elevator doors closed. The wire against my chest captured everything, including the sound of my heart breaking. Vanessa stood alone, staring at the stock certificates still spread across the table. "I didn't know about the $27 million. He never told me." "Would it have changed anything?" She looked at me, something almost like shame flickering briefly. Then it was gone, replaced by calculation. "I have lawyers too, Robert. Whatever happens next, I'm not going down without a fight." "Neither am I," I said, and walked out. Outside, Daniel waited by his van. "Got everything. Marcus's admission about the flight, the stolen money, his claim it was his money. Combined with the conservatorship evidence and Vanessa's cafe recording, you've got an airtight case for guardianship." "How long?" "Emergency hearing Monday morning. Judge already reviewed your petition. With both parents removed and Emma in CPS care, you're the only viable option." He gripped my shoulder. "You did it, Robert. Helen would be proud." I looked up at the penthouse glowing against the night sky. Somewhere in this city, Emma was scared and confused, wondering if anyone would come for her. But Helen had taught me one final lesson. Love isn't just protection. It's showing up no matter how hard it gets. It's fighting battles you don't know if you can win. Monday morning, I would stand before a judge and ask for the privilege of being Emma's guardian. Before I share what was found inside, comment the word "still" below, so I know you're watching with me till this moment. Also, a gentle reminder, parts of the next story are fictionalized for reflection and learning. If this isn't for you, you're welcome to exit the video right here. Stay with me. Saturday morning, the CPS office felt nothing like a battlefield, but that's what it was. Lisa Martinez sat across from Patricia and me in a conference room decorated with cheerful posters about child safety. None of them mentioned what to do when both of a child's parents were threats. "Mr. Sullivan, thank you for coming in." Lisa opened a thick file. "We need to conduct a formal investigation before determining Emma's placement. I understand you have additional evidence regarding both parents." Patricia slid a USB drive across the table. This contains a recording from Monday 4 days ago. Robert met with Vanessa Sullivan at her request. She proposed a deal. Lisa plugged in the drive. Vanessa's voice filled the room, clear and damning. Emma is a resilient child. She'll adjust. We'd send her to boarding school. Switzerland has excellent institutions. I'm not interested in playing housewife and mother. I'm interested in financial security. Marcus destroyed my life. I deserve compensation. Emma gets $13 million in trust. That's more than enough for boarding school, college, everything she needs. I get the other half to rebuild my life. Lisa's expression didn't change, but she made careful notes. Mrs. Sullivan explicitly stated she wanted to send Emma away to access the inheritance. Yes, I said. She saw Emma as a means to collect $13 million. Nothing more. Patricia added more documents. We also have evidence of Mrs. Sullivan's gambling debts, $400,000 across 3 casinos, credit card statements, collection notices. She's financially desperate. There's more, Patricia continued. Ms. Roberts, Emma's teacher, documented concerns. Vanessa missed 6 parent-teacher conferences this year. Twice she forgot to pick Emma up from school. Emma waited over an hour both times. The teacher's notes describe Vanessa as disengaged and uninterested in Emma's well-being. Lisa reviewed each document methodically. And the father, Marcus Sullivan, is currently in custody. But what's your evidence regarding his fitness? I pulled out my phone, queuing up the security footage from Marcus's building. This was recorded 3 weeks ago. Lisa watched Marcus berate 7-year-old Emma for an A-, his cold voice cutting through the lobby. You embarrass me, Emma. Every time you settle for good enough, you embarrass this family. I don't want to look at you right now. Lisa's professional mask slipped for just a moment. How old is Emma in this recording? 7. She's still 7. This is a pattern. Patricia provided the school counselor's notes, 18 months of documented anxiety and fear of disappointing her father. Then came Helen's email from 2022 expressing concern about Marcus's harshness. Finally, the recording from Task 5. Marcus's own admission that he'd refused to fund his dying mother's cancer treatment because the odds weren't cost-effective. Lisa closed the file. I'm opening formal investigations into both parents. Based on this evidence, Emma cannot be placed with either Mr. Sullivan or Mrs. Sullivan pending resolution of these investigations and the criminal charges against Mr. Sullivan. What happens to Emma? My voice was steady, but my heart was racing. We need to identify suitable relatives. Are there any other family members? I'm her grandfather. I want to be considered for placement. Lisa pulled out a new form. I'll need to conduct a home assessment today. I'll also need Emma to be interviewed by our child psychologist, Dr. Lisa Warren. Emma needs to express her own preferences in a safe, pressure-free environment. When can I see her? Dr. Warren is available this afternoon. If the assessment goes well, emergency temporary placement could be approved today. 3 hours later, I sat in a different conference room while Emma was interviewed next door. Through the wall, I couldn't hear words, just the murmur of gentle voices. Patricia sat beside me reviewing documents for Monday's hearing. Robert, she said quietly, you need to understand, even with all this evidence, family courts have a strong bias toward reunification with biological parents. Vanessa isn't in jail. She hasn't been charged with a crime. A judge might order supervised visitation parenting classes and eventual return to her custody. She wanted to ship Emma to Switzerland. I know, but courts see that as poor judgment, not abuse. We'll fight hard Monday, but you need to be prepared for the possibility that this isn't over. The door opened. Dr. Warren emerged, a woman in her 40s with kind eyes and a gentle smile. "Mr. Sullivan, Emma would like to see you." I entered the interview room. Emma sat in a child-sized chair surrounded by toys and books, but she wasn't playing. When she saw me, she ran across the room and wrapped her arms around my waist. "Grandpa, they said I might get to stay with you. Is that true?" I knelt down to her level. "I'm trying, sweetheart. But I need you to tell Dr. Warren the truth about what you want. Nobody will be mad at you, whatever you say." I already told her. Emma looked at Dr. Warren. "I want to live with Grandpa. He always keeps his promises just like Grandma did. He listens when I'm scared. He doesn't yell when I make mistakes." Dr. Warren made notes, then spoke to me. "Emma has expressed a clear, consistent preference for placement with you. She shows no signs of coaching or coercion. She demonstrates a healthy attachment and feels safe with you." Lisa Martinez arrived at my apartment at 4 p.m., clipboard in hand. She walked through the 3 rooms, checking smoke detectors, looking at the small bedroom. I'd already begun preparing for Emma: fresh sheets, the music box on the dresser, books on the shelf. "It's modest," I said, "but it's safe, and it's full of her grandmother's love." Lisa made final notes. "Mr. Sullivan, based on the evidence against both parents, Dr. Warren's assessment, Emma's clear preference, and this home evaluation, I'm approving emergency temporary foster placement, effective immediately. You'll have conditions, weekly check-ins, no contact between Emma and her parents without supervision, and a formal custody hearing Monday morning. I can bring her home tonight. I'll have her here within the hour." When Emma walked through my door carrying her small backpack, she looked around the apartment, really looked as if memorizing every detail. "Is this home now?" she asked. "For as long as you need it to be," I said. She walked straight to the music box, opening it carefully. Claire de Lune filled the small room. "Grandma's song. Your grandma's song. Your song. Our song." For the first time in months, Emma smiled without fear behind it. We'd just started dinner, grilled cheese sandwiches, because that's all I knew how to make when Patricia called. Robert, Vanessa's attorney, just filed a counter petition. Petition for return of minor child. She's arguing parental rights, your age, as a factor, and claiming the recording was taken out of context. The hearing Monday just got a lot more complicated. Through the kitchen window, I could see the city lights beginning to glow against the evening sky. Emma sat at my table eating sandwiches and humming Claire de Lune. Safe for now. But for now was all I had. Family courts favored parents. Biological bonds over chosen ones. Vanessa hadn't committed a crime, just demonstrated greed. Would that be enough to keep Emma safe? Monday morning, I'd find out if love was stronger than law. But tonight, Emma was home. And I'd spent 2 years learning Helen's final lesson. Sometimes the only promise you can keep is to show up and fight, no matter how many battles it takes. "Grandpa," Emma's voice pulled me back. "Can we play the music box again before bed?" "As many times as you want, sweetheart." Helen's legacy played on while I made plans for Monday. The war wasn't over, but I'd already won the part that mattered. Emma knew she was loved. Monday morning, family court felt different from the conservatorship hearing. Softer lighting, child-friendly artwork on walls, but the same weight of justice hanging in the air. Judge Thompson, a woman in her 60s with kind eyes and a reputation for fierce child advocacy, reviewed documents as we took our seats. Vanessa sat across the aisle with her attorney, James Bradley, looking nothing like the desperate woman from the dinner confrontation. Tailored suit, perfect makeup, the image of a concerned mother. She'd learned to play the part. "This court is convened to determine permanent custody of Emma Sullivan, age 7, Judge Thompson began. "Mr. Bradley, you may present your case." Bradley stood, projecting confidence. Your Honor, this is a case of grandfather overreach. My client, Vanessa Sullivan, is Emma's stepmother and has been a parental figure for 3 years. One recording made during an extremely stressful period when her marriage was collapsing cannot be grounds to strip a child from her mother. Mrs. Sullivan loves Emma and is actively working to improve her parenting skills through classes and counseling. Vanessa took the stand, and I had to admit she was convincing. I love Emma like my own daughter, she said, voice steady and sincere. That recording was made during the worst week of my life. My husband was planning to leave me, take Emma, destroy everything. I said terrible things I didn't mean. But I've enrolled in parenting classes. I'm in financial counseling for my gambling issues. I want to be the mother Emma deserves. She even teared up. Perfect performance. Patricia stood for cross-examination, holding a thick file. Mrs. Sullivan, how many parent-teacher conferences did you attend this school year? Vanessa hesitated. I'm not sure exactly, 0. You attended 0 conferences. Patricia pulled out attendance records. Your husband attended 2. Emma's grandfather attended 4 after he was added to the authorized contact list last fall. I had work commitments. Let's talk about those commitments. Patricia presented credit card statements. In the past year, you spent over $400,000 gambling. Where did that money come from? Those were personal funds, your husband's funds, which were derived from stolen inheritance. Patricia didn't wait for response. Mrs. Sullivan, on February 3rd of this year, you forgot to pick Emma up from school. How long did she wait? I don't recall that specific, 90 minutes. A 7-year-old child waited 90 minutes in the school office because you forgot. It happened again on March 21st. 65 minutes that time. Vanessa's composure cracked. I made mistakes. Parents make mistakes. The court calls Ms. Roberts Emma's teacher, Patricia announced. Ms. Roberts took the stand, her testimony devastating in its specificity. I expressed concerns about Emma's anxiety and suggested family counseling. Mrs. Sullivan's response was, quote, "That's what nannies are for." She made it clear Emma's well-being was not her priority. The school counselor followed, describing Emma's fear and anxiety that spiked after weekends at home. Then came Jennifer Murphy, Emma's former nanny. Mrs. Sullivan instructed me to keep Emma out of sight when guests visited, Jennifer said quietly. She referred to Emma as the baggage more than once. I resigned because I couldn't work in that environment. Each witness built a picture of systematic neglect. Patricia presented hotel receipts showing Vanessa's affair during the custody dispute, gambling debts that continued even after Marcus's arrest, a pattern of self-interest over Emma's needs. When Robert took the stand, Patricia kept her questions simple. Mr. Sullivan, what role did you and your late wife play in Emma's life? Helen and I helped raise Emma from birth. We were her primary caregivers when Marcus traveled. We attended school events, helped with homework, tucked her in at night. After Helen passed, Marcus cut off my access. Helen knew that might happen. That's why she left the music box to give me the tools to protect Emma. What do you want for Emma's future? I want her to feel safe, to know she's loved unconditionally, to heal from the damage her parents caused. I looked at Vanessa, then at the judge. I'm not trying to replace Emma's parents, but I won't let her be hurt again. If Vanessa can truly change, if she can put Emma first, then someday maybe Emma could have a relationship with her. But right now, Emma needs stability. She needs to know someone will keep their promises. The final presentation came from Sarah Mitchell, the guardian ad litem appointed to represent Emma's interests. She played a video compilation of her interviews with Emma over the past week. Emma's face filled the screen, serious and thoughtful for a 7-year-old. I want to live with Grandpa, she said clearly. He always keeps promises just like Grandma did. He saved the music box when Daddy threw it away. He makes me feel safe. Another clip. Grandpa listens when I'm scared. He doesn't yell when I make mistakes. He plays Grandma's music box with me every night. Final clip. Can I stay with Grandpa forever, please? The courtroom was silent. Judge Thompson made notes, reviewed documents, then looked up. I've reviewed all evidence and testimony. This court's primary concern is the child's best interests. Emma has expressed a clear, consistent preference for placement with her grandfather. The evidence shows a pattern of neglect by Mrs. Sullivan and abuse by Mr. Sullivan, who is not present due to incarceration. She looked at me. Mr. Robert Sullivan has demonstrated competent stability and genuine love for this child. He has the support of educators, medical professionals, and the community. The gavel came down. Full legal and physical custody is awarded to Robert Sullivan. Mrs. Vanessa Sullivan is granted supervised visitation 2 hours per week, pending completion of parenting classes and financial counseling. Mr. Marcus Sullivan is granted no visitation pending resolution of criminal charges. This custody arrangement serves Emma's best interests. Outside the courthouse, sunlight felt impossibly bright. Patricia was already on her phone coordinating paperwork. Emma held my hand, looking up at me with Helen's eyes. Grandpa, I get to go home forever, right to your apartment with the music box. I knelt down, holding her small face in my hands, just like I'd done a week ago when everything was uncertain. Yes, sweetheart. I promise. You're home forever. And we can play Grandma's music box every night, every single night. She hugged me tight, and I felt the weight of Helen's legacy settling into place. We'd won. The courts had spoken. Emma was legally, officially, permanently mine to protect. But as we walked toward my car, Emma's hand in mine, I knew the real work was just beginning. Legal victories were clean, final, documented. Healing a child's wounded heart was messier, longer, harder. Emma still flinched at sudden sounds. She still asked permission before eating snacks, afraid of doing something wrong. She still had nightmares about being sent away. The battle was over. But the journey to help Emma trust that love could be safe, that home could be permanent, that mistakes wouldn't end in abandonment. That journey was just starting. Helen had given me the tools to fight. Now I had to learn to heal. But tonight we'd go home to the small apartment where Helen's music box waited. We'd play Claire de Lune and eat grilled cheese sandwiches and read bedtime stories. We'd take it one day at a time, one promise at a time, one moment of safety at a time. And someday Emma would believe she was truly home. 3 months after the custody hearing, the music box sat on Emma's bedside table like a small wooden guardian. Every night before bed, she'd open it and let Claire de Lune fill the room. Some nights she'd cry, some nights she'd smile. Every night she'd close it carefully and whisper, "Good night, Grandma." Morning sunlight filtered through the apartment windows as I measured coffee, and Emma stood on a step stool at the stove, concentrating on scrambled eggs with the intensity only a 7-year-old could bring to cooking. "Not too much stirring," I reminded gently. "Let them set a little." "Like Grandma taught you." "Exactly like Grandma taught me." Helen had been gone 3 years, but she was present in every lesson I passed to Emma, every story I told, every promise I kept. Emma plated the eggs, slightly overcooked, but made with pride, and we sat at the small table that had become our morning ritual. Breakfast together. No rushing. No criticism. Just time. "Grandpa," Emma's voice was thoughtful, "can we add new memories to the music box, like Grandma's gift, but ours too?" I looked at her, this brave little girl learning to trust again. "What kind of memories?" She pulled a photograph from her pocket, one we'd taken at the zoo last weekend. Robert and Emma by the elephant exhibit, both of us laughing at something ridiculous. This one. So the box has Grandma's love and our new love together. My throat tightened. I think that's perfect. Grandma would love that. We opened the music box together, carefully placing the photo in the hidden compartment alongside Helen's stock certificates and letter. New memories layered with old, healing built on foundation of protection. Now it's really home, Emma said simply. Every Wednesday afternoon I drove Emma to Dr. Lisa Warren's office for therapy. The waiting room had gotten familiar, worn magazines, children's books, abstract paintings that were supposed to be calming. Emma no longer gripped my hand when the door opened. Small victory. Today, Dr. Warren invited me in for the last 15 minutes, as she did monthly, to discuss progress. Emma's anxiety symptoms have decreased significantly, Dr. Warren said, reviewing her notes. She's sleeping better, fewer nightmares. She's learning to express difficult emotions verbally instead of shutting down. She still flinches sometimes, I said quietly. Sudden noises, if I raise my voice even slightly. That's normal. Trauma responses don't disappear in 3 months, but they're diminishing. Emma's building new neural pathways, learning that safety can be consistent, that love doesn't come with conditions. She smiled gently. You're doing everything right, Robert. Patience, consistency, unconditional acceptance. That's what heals. In our session, Emma had said something that Dr. Warren wanted me to hear directly. She replayed a brief audio recording, standard practice with parental consent. Emma's small voice. Grandpa never yells when I make mistakes. He says it's okay to not be perfect. Sometimes I'm sad about Daddy. I wish he could be different. But I know it's not my fault he made wrong choices. Dr. Warren helped me understand that. Hearing Emma articulate that separating her father's actions from her worth made the past 3 months of bedtime tears and patient conversations feel worth every moment. She's incredibly resilient, Dr. Warren said. With continued support, Emma will thrive. But remember, healing isn't linear. There will be setbacks, especially around milestones or memories. This is a years-long journey, not a 3-month fix. I knew, but it helped to hear. The letter from Marcus arrived a month ago. I still hadn't replied. Federal sentencing had been swift, 5 years for securities fraud, embezzlement, and elder abuse. The judge had been unequivocal. You betrayed your family, your mother's memory, and most devastatingly, your daughter's trust. Marcus's letter was written on prison stationery, careful handwriting that looked nothing like the confident signature that had signed fraudulent documents. Dad, I've had a lot of time to think. You were right about everything. I hurt Emma. I hurt you. I destroyed Mom's legacy. I'm using this time to get help, therapy, anger management, parenting classes, even though I don't have the right to parent anymore. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know I finally see what I became. What Mom saw before she died. What you tried to tell me. Emma is lucky to have you. I'm sorry I didn't become the son Mom raised or the father Emma deserved. Marcus, I'd read it 12 times, searching for manipulation, finding only what seemed like genuine remorse. But trust wasn't rebuilt with one letter. Maybe someday, if Marcus truly changed, there could be a relationship. For Emma's sake, I left that door open. But it would take years to prove himself. For now, Emma didn't ask about him. She was too busy learning what safety felt like. Vanessa's transformation was slower, more visible. 12 weeks of parenting classes, weekly therapy, financial counseling to address her gambling addiction. The supervised visits had started rocky, awkward silences, Vanessa unsure how to talk to a 7-year-old without treating her as an accessory. But 3 months in, something had shifted. Last week's visit, Vanessa brought a book about elephants remembered Emma's love from a passing comment. They'd read it together, Vanessa patient, when Emma asked questions genuinely interested in her stepdaughter's thoughts. "She's trying, Grandpa," Emma said afterward, cautiously hopeful. "She asked about my spelling test. She remembered." I was guardedly optimistic. Vanessa would never be Emma's primary parent. That ship had sailed. But if she could become someone Emma could trust for limited time, someone who genuinely cared, maybe that was enough. Looking back now, I realize I waited too long to speak up. I told myself silence was patience, that love meant staying out of the way. I was wrong. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this: don't be like me. Don't ignore the quiet warning signs. Don't assume time will fix what courage should confront. This family story taught me that protecting the ones we love sometimes means standing alone, even when it's uncomfortable and misunderstood. I share this not as a hero, but as a grandfather who almost failed. In many grandpa stories, we talk about wisdom earned too late. I don't want that to be your story. God doesn't ask us to be perfect. God asks us to be present. And when I finally listened, I understood that God places people in our care for a reason, not to control them, but to protect them. This family story reminded me that money fades, power crumbles, but love leaves a mark that lasts. If you're watching this and something feels familiar, please don't brush it aside. Learn from my mistakes. These grandpa stories aren't about revenge. They're about responsibility, faith, and choosing what truly matters. Sometimes the hardest lesson is realizing that love without action is just another form of fear. If this family story moved you in any way, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share where you're watching from. And if these grandpa stories resonate with you, consider sharing this video or subscribing to the channel. It helps more than you know. Thank you sincerely for staying with me until the end. Please be aware the stories that follow include some fictionalized details crafted for educational and reflective purposes. If this kind of content isn't for you, feel free to step away and choose something that better fits your needs.